Hey, welcome back to my Matronista channel. This is gonna be a creepy story. I hope you enjoy it. I'm getting kind of tired of all those unboxings and nail tutorials, so let's talk about something creepy. And today's story is going to be about doppelgangers and about dogs barking in the background. What is a doppelganger? You know what a dog barking in the background is, so let's talk about what a doppelganger is. A doppelganger is a German word and it means double walker. And what it is an apparition of oneself that you can see with a live person. For instance, Abraham Lincoln saw his doppelganger during the second elections. What happened was there was the excitement of the elections and Lincoln laid down on a sofa. He looked across the room in a full-length mirror and saw himself. Well, he saw himself twice. He saw a vision, a full-length vision of himself, and then another vision of himself that was pale. This occurred 3 separate times, and Mary Lincoln, his wife, was a bit of a spiritualist, and she interpreted this to mean that Lincoln would be elected to a second term, but the paler Lincoln indicated that he would die before the second term was up, which we know actually did happen. Just kind of a side note, I'm from Washington, D.C., and in the 3rd grade we went to Ford's Theater, and even as a child I remember it being a very small theater. In case you've ever wondered why John Wilkes Booth thought he could jump from the balcony onto the stage and get away, it was very feasible. It was not a very long distance. Okay, so that's it about Abraham Lincoln. Who else has seen their doppelgangers? Well, Queen Elizabeth I saw hers lying on a couch shortly before she died. Catherine the Great was supposed to be an evil empress of Russia. She walked into her throne room and saw herself sitting on her throne. So she ordered that her doppelganger be shot, which of course did no good at all because it was just an apparition. Another famous case, and this is really kind of creepy. This story comes from a grown woman who was a 13-year-old in 1845. In Latvia, she went to a girls' school. Well, one of the teachers was French, a young woman, and there were several incidents of where the girls saw the teacher, Emily G, I think was her name, saw her. Emily G never saw her doppelganger. One time, an instance was they were all sitting in a dining hall, and Emily was sitting there eating, and her doppelganger was behind her, mocking her, imitating her movements in eating. Another instance was Emily G was at the blackboard writing, lessons, and her doppelganger could be seen beside her, mimicking writing the lessons. But what creeped the girls out the most was one time all 42 girls were sitting in a hall doing their sewing and embroidering lessons, and they could see Emily G out in the garden gathering flowers. Well, one of the teachers that was moderating got up to go speak to a headmistress. Well, when that teacher got up and left the chair, Emily G, who was clearly out in the garden, was seen sitting in that chair, her apparition, and the girls were looking out in the garden, and then they were looking at the apparition. 2 girls actually went up to try to touch her, the apparition, and they felt kind of, I want to say, force field or some kind of barrier. One girl actually did, though, go between the chair and the table, and she just passed right through the apparition. So that's that story. I want to tell you one last story, and this is a family story. My mother saw her doppelganger. Doppelgangers are normally omens of death, but in my mother's case, it was exactly the opposite. Mom was 9 years old and she was in a bike accident. She came down a steep hill and she still has gravel in her knee to this day where she hit so hard. And Mom was severely injured and told she would never have children. So the year was 1960 and Mom was about 24 at that point, and her friends were having babies and Mom wanted a baby and she was worried about that. Oh, there's another little dog barking. So Mom was sitting in her chair in the apartment watching As the World Turns, which is a family tradition, and she was knitting or crocheting. Out of the corner of her eye, something caught her eye. So she looked up and she saw her own apparition. Now, this apparition of herself was wearing a big flannel shirt, which Mom would have never worn. This was the days of Jackie Kennedy and twin sets. So Mom saw this big flannel shirt and her apparition was clearly pregnant. So Mom watched as the apparition walked past her and into the kitchen. Mom couldn't see in the kitchen and she sat there shocked, for a few moments, and she grabbed her car keys or house keys and she ran out. Well, my sister was born, my older sister was born 9 months later. My mother was indeed 2 weeks pregnant. Now, what was the apparition? Was it her own mind projecting out to tell her not to worry, that she indeed would have a baby? Of course, this is classified under pseudoscience. A lot of scientists will tell you that doppelgangers are a result of epilepsy or schizophrenia, but I don't think so. Not in all cases. They just can't explain it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my doppelganger story, and I'll be back with other creepy stories because Halloween's coming up. Thanks for coming by. Love you guys. Bye. I don't think I own too much.
Yeah, it was good. I think Emily G or whatever her name was, she was just really fast. She just got up out of the chair, ran out of the garden, and she moved so fast she left herself behind.
I don't know what she did.
But have you ever thought the doctors were right and your mother never did have any children?
I'm a child, I think.
What if she never really had children?
That's
and you're
story.
Just a figment of someone's imagination?
Mom had 4 children. 4 children. I think we were all children.
4 daughters, including your brother Charlie.
No. Stop that.